Hey everyone, my name is Joe, and I bought the Behringer X-Touch Compact for use within Reaper, because that's just the DAW I've used for the last 10 years. Something I found once I got the X-Touch was it wouldn't work with anything within Reaper. And upon a little bit of research, I started finding that this was a common problem that many people had that bought the X-Touch. And you end up going down different routes with different ways of getting it to work. And one of them is called CSI, which I think stands for Control Surface Interface or something like that. And it's some coding that someone's made that allows the X-Touch to work within Reaper. So what it means is you can go into your tracks, and if you look down in the bottom corner here, you can use your sliders to adjust the volumes of the master and tracks, and you can use the rotaries at the top to adjust the panning. However, what happens is when you go into one of your plugins of choice, so if I add Slate here, you can see that there's no way of utilizing this desk to control the plugin. I mean, at the very least, you'd have expected to say go into Fabfilter, if I add that on here, and be able to kind of click on a point, and you can see the slider in the bottom left's moving, but I can't actually control any of the plugins. So then you think, well, why don't you just use MIDI Learn? Well, because if I use MIDI Learn, it doesn't work because this desk is no longer set up as a MIDI input device. The reason for this is in order for CSI to work, you have to go into your MIDI devices, as you can see here, my Behringer X-Touch Compact, and it has to be disabled on both. And when it's disabled on both, this allows CSI to take over. Sorry, it's integrator, not interface, control surface integrator. And you know, essentially this is now what becomes your MIDI device. So Reaper can't accept anything off this desk as an input to learn MIDI. So it puts you in a situation of, well, how do I remedy that? How do I fix it? And it's taken me many weeks, not to mention the fact I had a motorcycle accident which leaves me with one arm for the rest of my life. So this has been a hell of an effort to achieve it. But what I've managed to do, if I go into Finder and I go into Surfaces, MIDI, you can see I've created an X-Touch Compact one based off of the X-Touch here. And then if I go into the zones, you can see I've also made an X-Touch Compact zone in here with effects. So if I take this JP pack and trust Shift not to work for me, and I drag these down into my effects, you can see I've got, say, Fabfilter, and this has taken a long time, a lot of late nights trying to work out how to code these. But now what happens if I reset my surface, if I go into Fabfilter, all of a sudden I can now utilize each of these bands separately. Sorry for the hum that's just started on my speaker. I'm going to actually turn that off because it's annoying to listen to. And you think, okay, well, that's great. You can go up and down. What else can you do? Well, I've programmed it so that each one of the rotaries adjusts the frequency of the 8 bands. And then you think, okay, well, what else can you do? Well, I set it so each one can be bypassed. I've also set it up so that obviously you have your gain on all of the faders. And then something else which I thought was quite kind of cool is you think, well, how on earth do you change the Q? So I've set the Q up on a cycling parameter where you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8 knobs here. These 6 buttons, when the Behringer is in MCU mode, don't work as rotaries, they work as push buttons. And these 2 knobs down here, which is your channels and banking, they work on rotaries instead, but only as a step, you know, left once and right once for each one. So what I did instead was say, okay, well, let's say I wanted to change the Q of band 3. If I make it clear by turning all of the others off, I can go to band 1, band 2, band 3. If I push this, it adjusts the Q for me on 3 predetermined steps that it will loop endlessly. So you can go from broader strokes to tighter ones to surgical ones. And that's true for all of these. The other thing I managed to set it up to do is for the last one, because these you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on pushes, bands 7 and 8, you actually have to rotate this one left for band 7Q and rotate it right for band 8Q, which is the low pass on the end. The other thing I managed to do is if you turn this one to the left, it will actually do a complete bypass of the plugin. And so that's just for Fabfilter, but I'm planning on doing this for every major plugin that I use. So Slate, this one took a long time to work out how to do because I had to learn how to change zones. But essentially what I've managed to do is say each one of these knobs that you can push in act as a selection for which panel you want to work on. So let's say, for example, I wanted to work on the first one. I can push 1, and now all of a sudden I have these rotaries across the top, okay? The first one is your input, the second one is your output. You can also push them to turn the knobs on and off. The third one, you have to do big turns on this, like, you know, multiple clicks to make it turn. I don't know why, but I don't seem to be able to get it to work any other way. The fourth one, you've got your drive, and then you've got your group selection, which again are big kind of turns. And likewise for those, the buttons underneath, you just push. On all of these panels, I've set it up so that number 8 is to bypass. So if I wanted to go to panel 2, you push panel 2, and now all of a sudden I have all of my EQ on the knobs across the top. You can get your drive by pushing in on 1, and then the line or drive on slider 1. I found that something very cool about doing it this way is you can actually swap between line and drive, and it doesn't reset because it's reading off of the fader. Whereas if you do it with a mouse, what normally happens when you turn drive off, the line resets to 0. Panels 3 and 4 are identical, so I'll go quickly through them. If you push in on 1, you've got your bell in and out, and then you can obviously adjust. Here you've got your frequency, and on the fader you've got your gain. On 2, again, you've got your frequency, and you've got your gain, and you've got your Q next to it. The next one along, again, you've got kilohertz and Q, and if you go to the slider, the fader, sorry, you've got your decibels. And then on the next ones, you've got, again, you're just following it all along. Here, this is just all on one channel because you've only got decibels and selection. Push this one to engage the bell, and then on the last one, you've obviously got your high pass. Same for number 4. So I'll move on to 5. So this one will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So push 5. We now have our input, our output, our attack, release, and mix. If you want to change circuit, you push in 1. If you want a high pass sidechain, number 2. And my favorite thing about selecting ratio is the buttons on the bottom. You can have 4, 8, 12, 20. So you can swap to whichever one you want. If we go to number 6, this will be the LA2A. So this selects all of the rotaries in a row, and then for just a bit of fun, tactileness, you got your limit and compress here, and your stereo link on and off here. Again, like all of them, if you push 8 in, it will bypass. Now we're moving on to the left and right bank. So to select these, you have to turn this one to the left. And again, with all things that are set, you have to do big movements to make it turn. And then on all of the other stuff, you can see quite clearly that it works great. Then you've obviously got these 3 sliders here. You've got your high pass, you've got your low pass, and you've got your out. Again, F8, turn it on and off. To select the last one, rotate this to the right. You can move this, push it in and out to swap between present and silky. You got your low lift, push it in and out to swap between big and punchy, and then out. And that's what I've managed to achieve with that so far. However, I've also managed to, if I can load up Townhouse compressors, Townhouse. On Townhouse, forgive me, I'm still coding this one, so it's kind of new to me, but you've got your compression in and out on this button because it matched. You've got your key in and out on this one. I think I've set this into auto fade. Yeah, so you've got your auto fade there. Then you've got your threshold, you've got your ratios, you've got your attack. Big tones for things that are stepped. Again, for the release. And then you've got your makeup. Then it swaps to the last three, swap to headroom, V-gain, and the sidechain filter. I think the rate is on fader 1. Yeah, it is. And then if you want to change the mix, I think I changed it to the master fader. Yeah, so here you can change your mix. So you can do everything from just on the desk. You don't have to use the mouse as much, which for those of us that love tactile feelings, awesome, right? So I'm going to plan on going through all of the major plugins I've got. So, a lot of Wave stuff. I've got the Slate stuff sorted. Some Fabfilter things, just L1, all of the obvious stuff that we'd be using a lot. So if you have this set up with Reaper and you use CSI, you can use it. I'm hoping people don't take too unkindly to the idea that I would like to be able to sell these as kind of plug-in packs for a small amount of money, purely to cover the time that's gone into it, and also to cover the cost of buying plugins to then write the coding for it. I hope that's okay with everyone, and if you are an X-Touch Compact user in Reaper with CSI, I hope this makes mixing a completely different ballgame for you. And if you were looking at getting into buying one of these X-Touch Compacts, at least now there is a possibility for you to be able to have this stuff working. And if there's a plugin I haven't done yet, I'm totally open to people buying a plugin for me, and I'll code it for free in exchange for the plugin type thing in the short term to add to the bank of things that are there. Meanwhile, someone else gets it, coded and programmed for free. That's all I have to share. I hope that this was something that you guys found. It allows you to understand the importance of what this can offer you, and that's it. I hope you all have a lovely day, and thanks so much for your time. Happy mixing.